last month's minutes. Hey, speaking of that whole series was on Sunday.
Was it really?
I think I watched over half.
Oh, made me sit down and watch that.
It started like at 8 in the morning and went till about midnight. Okay, there's nothing there. We'll move on to the financials. Nothing there. We'll go to the claims. Chromebooks went out today.
They did? Oh, right, they did. Deployed today.
How many were deployed?
18.
19?
19.
Junior class.
19.
Okay, great.
Yep. So there's a couple left over, just in case something were to happen to them.
The access points installed.
Yep.
They can tell you difference.
That one's in your building.
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, I don't think
No, but
that
I
we
don't
had
think
a,
it was-
there was a, I don't think anybody was saying,
issue.
yeah, we're very sluggish, you know, so.
I think from talking to Tom, it was just more of a preventative thing. They're getting old enough that eventually they were gonna.
We were gonna have.
Start going out.
So
Yeah.
he wanted
They had
to
a
take
good
care of
deal.
it before it.
Proactive.
got to that.
Is that Matheson Tri-Gas, that's the weld, or the ag shop?
Yeah. He got, with that welder, he got quite a bundle of supplies, of course, some that he needed specific to that welder. Then he gets all his welding supplies from Matheson, so he threw in some extra for his traditional welders.
Is that a replacement or not? Just a addition?
Well, it's just the latest. The TIG welder
Yeah, but
is,
we didn't have one with that.
which, no, we've never had one, so,
Oh.
and pictures are coming around, but
It's a TIG
it's, I think, the way of the business now, for the most part.
Bus doors, that was both of them, right, Darren?
Say again, the what?
The bus doors, that was for both of them?
Yes. I haven't been out there to see him yet.
You're late, you can't come in.
That's right.
They look nice.
Should. I mean, they're quality. I mean, we didn't buy something cheaper, have them installed by somebody that didn't know what they were doing, so. It was overhead.
Yep. Found it.
We're still on consent. We haven't made a motion yet, so I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, the only thing I do, I guess I do have a question. Oh, no. That's on the finances.
It's all right, we haven't
Okay.
closed on it.
Maybe we need to make amendment change so that we're not approving something that we've already haven't paid for yet. Is that common?
Yeah, your NASB membership?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hold on to that check if you'd like.
I don't care. I mean, we can,
But
we can just, can't we just make that motion?
Yeah. Your item 17, your action item 17 would be after the fact
Huh?
Catch your breath.
of approving those claims.
Because the check's wrote.
Well, we wrote,
The check
yeah.
hasn't been sent.
We prepared the check, we didn't send it, so if you would approve the finances and approve the claims,
Yeah.
you're essentially approving item
Okay.
17.
All right, that's good.
Which, you know, the 2% discount, we can wait a month and still get the 2% discount. Kelly, just, the stuff comes in anticipation that we're gonna be members of NASB. Just keep moving it rather than putting it in a basket for a month.
Okay, that's fine.
So, yeah.
Does that happen very often?
Oh, no, this is
Every
just,
once in a while.
because this is a routine membership that I think I haven't heard any concerns about being a member of NASB, so it's kind of a formality expenditure.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll take a motion to accept the consent agenda as it is. Second?
Second.
Got a first and second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Is there any public comments today? Okay, go on to discussion items, board policy 410.06 and series 412.
Okay, so you asked me last month to double check that statute on the jury duty leave, because we've got that line in there that says the employee will return to work within 1 hour. Well, as expected, there is nothing in the statute, so I think I recommend that we strike that line, and that's it, and update the revised policy for 1006 as was in your folder. I already gave you a copy of a revised copy, or of the revised language with that line out of there. So how, why it was ever in there in the first place, I don't know. So that's just, that's a recommendation that I think is pretty simple. And then I don't have any language change recommendations on your 412 series. Mainly to do with classified employees, so I thought I would provide for you a copy of our classified application, which includes CDL information, and then also a sample of an evaluation that we use for, that's essentially the same evaluation that we use for all our classified, we just changed the title, whether it's paraprofessional, whether it's a clerical staff, whether it's cafeteria staff. So just thought you maybe want to have those in your folder. I'll let you see those. So I don't have any suggestions for policy language changes in the 412 series.
So, in this regular staff applications, you can't ask about history or if they've got any citations or anything like that the first go around. But yet on this CDL one, you can ask right up front.
That's some statute, there's some language in statute that requires you for, if we're gonna put somebody behind the wheel, and some of that goes beyond, because you have to have a CDL to have a school bus permit. So some of that goes beyond the fact that you're just driving a school bus. So if you're just driving a school bus, you gotta get the CDL. If you wanna get the CDL, all these other requirements come into play. So you get caught up in the CDL requirements just to get to the school bus permit.
Seems like a cat and mouse, one of them you can, one of them you have to, one of them you can't.
So we probably would need a motion to accept policy 41006 as revised. I didn't put that in there, it's not an action item, but if we're gonna strike that last line, that employee must return within 1 hour of being released, if we're gonna strike that, then that's a policy revision, so that'd require a formal action, so that'd require a motion.
I'll make a motion that we revise 41006 to take out the return to work in our policy on jury duty.
Second?
Second.
Seconded. Myself, yes. Krista?
Yes.
Floor. Trent?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yep.
Motion carries. Committee report, building and grounds. Did you make a copy of the?
I did. I mean, we can pretty quick, but, no, I
But
didn't.
just to do the numbers thing, we've got about 780,000, correct?
Well, we got more than that now, because we just got paid.
Another
So-
300 coming in, isn't there?
Yeah.
I have wrote down.
So your building and grounds, or your building and grounds balance now is 880,583.
But what's coming in is gonna be less, so they're gonna offset each other. Because between the two, then we have one 460.
Yeah, well, we're still gonna get a check in May.
The check in May will be big. Last year in May, our check for building fund was 181,000.
So we anticipate being close to $1 million before we pay our payment on this building, which will be 4.25. So that'll bring us back down to 6, just under 6, 5.5, 6, after we make our $425,000 payment.
So, a few of the things that we kind of had on our list from the past was ceiling, grid, and tile, and the rest of the 77 building. And we actually got a estimate on that a year ago or so when they did the elementary, correct?
Yeah.
Which was about 400,000. And we felt that that was probably too much. We don't want to get our building and grounds down too far. So we felt that was probably too much to try and do this year. So we thought about doing some smaller projects, maybe not spending quite as much of the money to build it up a little bit so we could do that $400,000 project possibly next year. So things that we're looking at is the south entrance, the wall, which we've been talking about for years, making it handicap accessible, putting a ramp in there, probably running east and west parallel to the sidewalk, the street sidewalk coming up. Some music room restoration, that was more for sound effects, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That would be in over in the high school. The art room is terrible for the HVAC. That's, to me, that's a priority thing on that. You know, it might be a little different now with Mrs. Wacker leaving. We don't know what kind of person's going to be over there, cold all the time or hot all the time or what. But, you know, I'm sure the way it was, why Mrs. Wacker would have had the air conditioner on probably all winter long. So we kind of need to do something in there that's controlled specific to that room. So if they want to run the air conditioner in the winter, everybody else has the heater on, because the boiler pipes run through that ceiling, so that room is just hot as all get out in the winter time. So, talk about ceiling lights and the tartan above the bleachers there in that ceiling. Possibly doing something there, looks pretty bad. The pirate gym doors, we redid all those doors, but the locking mechanisms are all in pretty bad shape. So we talked about going ahead and finishing those. And then, did you find anything out on the air conditioning unit that?
For the art room? Oh,
No, for the.
Yeah.
We had problems with last.
So last September, we had some cooling issues in the northeast part of the southwest part of the 77 building. So at that time, we had from Rasmussen's 11,000 to fix, 11,000 to patch it, 36,000 to replace it. We've since got a proposal from Ruts, and they're at just over 30,000 to replace. So we need a pretty good inspection of it, I would say, just to confirm that, what's the condition of it and what can we expect when we need to cool at full speed in late May and into the summer, but particularly in August and September.
Be nice to get their opinion on if we spent 11,000 to fix it, they think the life expectancy will be after we put that 11,000.
Yeah, they wouldn't give you any guarantee.
No.
But they might say, yeah, this should give you another 10 years, something like that. But
Any idea what the 11,000
Gail, did you have
fixes?
something to say?
Yeah, on that unit, some years ago, the dryer broke, and there's little beads that are in that system, and when that dryer broke, it let all the beads go through both compressors. So at that time, they drained everything out and tried to suck everything out to clean the system. And then since now the one compressor quit, so I'm sure that all that residue in there has something to do with, it's probably affected the other one in some way. And also, I believe, Dr. Arlt, in that Ruts estimate, that also includes gas heat. So if you were going to continue with a system like this in the high school, you would already have heat in that section that would be included. I'm not sure about the Rasmussens, if that includes gas heat. But
So 11,000 is to fix one compressor,
that's one compressor.
and the other ones might go bad yet,
And the other
because
one
it had the same debris go through
It had the
it.
same, yeah, the debris went through both,
They're both same age.
so age.
the Ruts estimate is a cooling only.
Oh, that's cooling only?
Yeah.
Okay. I know he did talk about adding the heat to it, so that'd be more expensive.
Thanks.
They didn't say anything about, like, this art room, whether we could put that into this new system and control it separately, or?
In like the systems that you put in the commons area up by the superintendent's office, we call them like mini splits, and it'd be just simply continuing on, adding another unit like they have, and putting one of them units in that ceiling. The electricity has already been ran, and there's room on the boxes, electrical boxes up above to supply it. They would just have to cut another hole in the roof and run the lines in, and from what I understand. So,
Now, most of those are hung on the sidewall, right? Is there a
Right.
reason for that? Do they come out on the roof too? Just set them?
well, I think it's just their size, the size of the unit. If they were units like this building, and they sit right out here, they're so much larger.
Right. But I'm saying that they wouldn't have to run that unit clear over to a wall somewhere to mount it on.
They could probably go right outside the tartan, right there, hang it, front it in, I guess. That'd be the closest.
So basically, if we fix the compressor for 11,000, next year we might have to fix that one for another 11,000.
Next year.
Don't be money ahead to put a new one on.
It's not 11,000, good option.
36,000, is that gonna replace both of them, or just one?
No,
that's
just
bad?
one of them.
Just the one that's bad?
And that, yeah, the 36,000 was the Rasmussen. I don't know if that has heat in it either, Gail. It doesn't say specifically
It doesn't say.
whether the Rasmussen replace gives you a heat option, as it doesn't say on their bid, which is a year old, by the way. Not a year old, but we got this bid last fall, August 15.
That compressor bid, did you rebuild or new?
I'm not certain on what that is, I would imagine that's new. And I know with that system, it also has the old type refrigerant that they're going away from.
The one we have, or the new one?
The new one that we installed a few years ago has a newer style, newer type. This one we gotta look at has the old style.
We could buy a replacement, sell them a good one for $6, give six for that one.
Put you right on there.
So we need to probably do, refresh our our bids on that, especially from Rasmussen, so you get just a better assessment of the condition of it and what we could expect with a replacement, or a repair versus a replacement. So we can have that for next month.
Guess what I'd like us to talk about is what we want to have left as a minimum in our building and grounds, account when we get done, so we as a committee, when we look at this before our next board meeting, can kind of come up with, put numbers together on what we want to spend, knowing what we want to have left. Help us a little bit. So if I get your thoughts on how much you think we should leave in the account for some emergency type situation. Could pop up.
Kind of the rough number I came up with at the meeting was, if we had just over $1 million in the building fund, we spent $425 for our payment this summer. And then if we did, say, $250,000 worth of these upgrades, we'd wind up with about $400,000 left in the building fund. So the preliminary we're throwing around.
We do have another 100 and some thousand in our depreciation fund that if we had to take out for an emergency situation, we'd be available for that too.
I think last year we kept maybe 500.
Yeah, I think we're about $500,000, is that right?
One other thing I had wrote down, Mike, was egg shop lighting.
Okay.
We talked about that. I thought that was maybe one of the things we were looking at.
Just in the classroom, wasn't it?
No, the whole
No,
building.
out the shop. Some of those industrial LEDs like we have in the wood
In the
shop.
wood shop.
That'd be a couple $1,000, and in fact, we've got Jake prepping some work time for us for the high school principal's office, and so we can get a quick, easy estimate for hanging a dozen of those in the ag shop as well, and probably wouldn't take a dozen of them.
And then we talked about having to do something with the track eventually.
Yeah, we got some big items coming
That's a big
up.
item, yeah, but-
Yeah, we kind of want to get some of these little ones cleared out, so.
But I guess we could think that if we had to, we could probably patch it again and get us by for another, I don't know how long.
Few more years.
4 or 5 years.
The patch and track's probably not overly expensive, is it?
Not particularly. I mean,
Okay,
maybe a
I suppose it
couple
depends how far you go with
$1,000,
it.
maybe, yeah.
So we determined there's not like there's any holes or anything out there. It's not anything.
So it's just filling in cracks.
Filling
basically,
in
with
the
a-
cracks. I think a few spots it is coming up.
Yeah, it's
Nothing
tearing
that's a
off the
safety hazard.
foundation, and so adhering it to the foundation is a problem, but sealing a crack is easy to do. We've done that once since I've been here.
Sure.
Replaced a section of runway in the pole hole, $2,000.
How much gets deposited annually in that building fund?
Depends on the levy,
Yeah,
but
sure.
650 to 700,000.
Okay.
And that track needs work before the spring, or is it good for the spring?
We can make it another year. I mean, there's nothing that's unsafe about it, but it wouldn't hurt probably to have them come and patch it next month.
And there are some changes that are gonna have to be made to the track, right, to be able to host, like.
Well, no,
conference
not,
track.
we can host a conference meet. They don't really like it. We wouldn't even put into host districts though, with the current shape, particularly with the
Right.
high jump.
Right, that has to be moved into the infield, right? to be able to
Doesn't
host.
have to be, but it's
Oh.
just, it's substandard.
Okay.
What we
Right.
have to do to even make it, reliable space. And our rings, our discus and shot rings are not, spaces are not awesome. We should modernize that shot space so they're not throwing into mud. Instead, they're throwing into a sawdust, sand pit, I don't know what they call the shot put area that you throw into, but it's not earth. Something you can kind of clean up a little better, but yeah, the track is a huge albatross just out there waiting to get some attention. So on the The retaining wall on the south side, I've got 2 bids coming, but one of them is, they want to do a rendering. They want to show us what it would look like. Here,
They want to do a little more than what we want.
well, and they don't do it for free.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we want to get a vision, which I would suggest, I mean, we want to see what's it going to look like. What are you going to do? Rather than just say, we're going to tear this wall out, we're going to put in this kind of block, and we're going to do that. Well, it's going to be probably 6 figures no matter what they do. Probably worth the $500 to have them say, this is what it will look like when it's done. I thought I'd bring that to your attention and assume that we could that's probably money well spent if we're serious about replacing it. They could also do the handicap ramp and any number of landscaping ideas that we would be interested in. I've got another meeting tomorrow morning with a group, an outfit out of Wayne that's coming to take a look at it. So I don't have anything specific for you on numbers on that at all. I'll have it for you next month though. The hardware for the gym doors, get ready. $28,000. $2,000, well, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 doors. So it's over $2,000 a door for hardware. What's on there is obsolete. What's on there does not work. I mean, half the doors they don't latch. They used to have a pin up and down. You don't pin down anymore. Now we don't have the closures on them, and so at some point in time, we ought to probably put closures on those doors, which is another expense down the road. But to put quality hardware on them like the double doors of the weight room have, and I've sent you a picture of that, it's $28,000.
Is that installed or is that just?
That'd be installed. That was a Buckley estimate. We've got who did the doors for us this summer. So we've got another estimate coming from Glass Edge after I got Jim's estimate, and it was about twice what I anticipated. But then again, I'm not in that business, but.
With the door.
So, I mean, that's expensive stuff as we knew, but more so than you imagine.
I wonder what a door costs.
There's how many doors was there again?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. There's 8 on the west and 4 on the east.
It might not be a bad idea.
What's the?
New doors.
Well, we just need
refinished
to
them all, though.
put the windows in.
At that time, it might not have been a bad idea.
The art room, just to AC the art room from Ruts, $17,000.
That heat and cool.
There's a heat pump, so yes. And that would include a rooftop unit, because he's got crane rental on here, so they put some type of small unit up there, maybe similar to what we have on top of the band room.
Just for that one room. So those little units are only about 5,000 or 7,000 apiece. We did them in.
I don't know, Gail, did you have any conversation with Reg on that specifically?
No, not at that.
You just said we need air conditioning for this room.
Well, I told him.
Probably costs a little more because it's an interior room, maybe, I don't know.
I told him it was in there. He did call and ask if there was any exterior walls, and I said no. And he priced a system similar to what we have in this building, with you can heat or cool, and I never saw his figure.
But that one that's in your office heats also, right? It's just a wall mount?
Yeah.
Might as well get an estimate from
That is Ruts.
That is Ruts? Really? So they aren't recommending that unit for that room?
You know, I don't know why it seems to be twice what we would have expected, but to come out for just one unit, that makes it a little pricier probably than what we paid per unit for last summer.
Yeah. If they have to bring a crane to do that other unit, it'd be better doing them all together.
Yeah, at the same time, I cheapen one or the other out.
That's what we have to do.
How about security cameras?
Yeah, we need some more of those. Especially externally. So I don't know what percent we have of our buildings that have surveillance coverage, but I think if I had Mr. Schmidt and Mrs. Thompson, look at all their cameras and map it out, we'd find that we have a lot of dark spaces that we'd rather have eyes on.
Like the hallway by the
Yeah.
locker rooms.
We have a camera there. We know who goes in and out of locker rooms. What we'd like to have and what we're gonna have is a camera cameras that show the locker room entrance out the east and the main doors into the locker room hallway on the north. So we'll put a camera on that corner that catches both of those. So that'd be a good investment. We have our playground covered pretty well here now, and that's good. So that's kind of a constant, add a few here and add a few here. And the guy's local at Hardington, so he's not too far away, still not easy to get here, but we need to continue until we get pretty good blanket surveillance.
On that handicap entrance, are you kind of getting two estimates? One just to put in the wall as a ramp, and another one to go all the way up to the door?
Didn't tell them that we wanted to start here, go here. I just said we need an ADA approved and accessible entrance.
We can do a lot
Ramp
of
on the
different
side.
things
Yeah.
if we go all the way to the front door.
Yeah.
What you guys are thinking, if you want to do it all at once and go all the way to the door, or if we just want to get that handicap accessibility and that wall redone and maybe add to it down the road, or it's less of a priority, or?
Depends what it's gonna cost, probably. I mean, if the ramp's not that expensive, and then you can do more, but if the ramp's gonna cost you 40,000,
And the wall.
Yeah, the wall and the ramp, if that's gonna be really expensive, then you just wanna stop there, but if it's minimal, then you could do more.
Yeah, I guess I'd kind of like to see where it comes in at, whatever we'll kind
Yeah.
of go from there. where they come up with.
So I'll arrange for Building and Grounds Committee to meet again probably a week prior to setting the agenda for March. That should give me plenty of time to have the landscape folks work up some, either a rendering and or a bid. We should have something by Glass Edge by that time to compare with Buckley's bid on the door hardware. And then we'll investigate a little more on those rooftop units.
Everybody kind of the same boat on the $500,000 left when we get done? Yeah. What is that?
If it rebounds 600,000 annually, sure, that's about right.
I mean, we also talked about not doing so much and trying to build it up for next year, so maybe could pick up one of the bigger projects too.
Yeah.
With what we're getting a year and what our payment is, we really can't pick up a bigger project until we get that other payment done for the elementary here, which is, last payment's next year.
June 2021.
So it'll be 22, summer 22, that we could do something. Okay, we will continue with that process. Action items. Superintendent, discuss and take possible action on contract terms for the superintendent for 2020, 2021.
So I sent you a follow-up email, and you may have noticed in the paper that I can change that, put a little bit of a range, kind of adjusted it down actually, what the board approved last month. When you take into consideration the totality of administrative salaries. So you have plenty of comparable data, so I don't know if, items 10, 11, and 12 probably maybe be all discussed simultaneously.
We kind of shifted gears a little bit. I went and talked to Darren one day, and I know we had set a plan at the last meeting, and then Darren had talked about maybe reducing what he was asking for. And I kind of shared that with you guys. I guess what I didn't share with you is he was asking for a couple more of those vacation days again, like we had talked about at one time. And my thinking on that is, you know, Darren's gonna do his work that needs to be done, whether he has 2 more vacation days or not. It's not like he's not gonna do 2 days of work, because he's, you know, at the end of the year, it's still gonna be done. And it really doesn't cost us anything to give him those vacation days, as long as he's getting the work done, or pay him one or the other.
And you had said, as long as they're used in the summertime, which
Yeah, as long as we use the
they almost
summertime.
all are. I don't know that I've taken a vacation day during the school year since I've been here.
So he was willing to back up, what was it, 0.5% or 1% from there?
What being?
The first option was,
It's in the minutes. He was at 2.5%.
that was an option 2, was it 2.5? So we're backing off 1%. Those 2 days. So that would be, to me, that's a total savings, I guess, to the district. See here. Again, personally, I feel he's gonna get his job done, whether he, you know, has those days or not. So we could use that money lower. We'll see. Principles. Other discussion on that? Are you still okay with that, Darren, since you're talking?
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as that is moved to
days are
Mrs.
added.
Thompson.
Yeah, you don't just want us to buy shirts for the. Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson.
So you stay at 2.5 and then do the 2 days extra vacation?
No, he would have a 1.5 pay increase. They have 2 days vacation. And plus those other paybacks on the sick leave and stuff. We agreed to.
So it'd be the same as option C, what we had last time, except it'd be a 1.5% raise, salary increase then. I think everything else was the same. $1,000 a year, phone, 40 and 45 on the sick days, and then 2 additional vacation days, plus the minimum, or the early retirement.
And like I said, I did have Brooke put it in the paper, because it does have to be 3 days public notice. So you're covered if you approve something different than what you approved last month, which is essentially swapping out 1% a salary increase for 2 vacation days to be used in the summer.
I have no problem with giving him 2 extra days, but I don't know why we're stealing from Peter to pay Paul. Why should he take a cut in pay so that we can give somebody else? Either we give Mrs. Thompson what she wants, or we don't. Why do we have to take it away from him? And also, why would we take it away from Kyle? Why are we taking away from people? Isn't there some way else we can, why penalize our superintendent? And to give somebody else a raise. I guess I've never thought that was right, but that's just my opinion.
Well, what I recognize, there's only so much money to pay your administrative team. And so, you know, and then we got some comparable data, and we are in the bottom half of all those schools that we shared with you.
Except for Laurel, Alcorn Valley, and Laurel.
LCC has a 4 administrator model, so they're paying for 4 people. So we tried to, the most comparable, who has a full-time elementary principal, a full-time high school principal, and a superintendent. And so we shared those out with you. Added Elkhorn Valley, and their Elkhorn Valley is below us. And they have a first-year superintendent, first-year elementary principal, so they're going to start out a little bit lower. But you know, I guess, you know, this administrative team is more important to me than, you know, making sure that I'm at the top of the array or you know, whatever. So, option C is we're essentially switching to option C, which last month, I think I mentioned, I'd be happy with either of these options. I'll accept any of these options. So I don't necessarily consider it, you know, taking anything from me that's already been approved. But I did mention in option C that, you know, I take a lower salary increase to help pay for this administrative team. And Mrs. Thompson, I think, has articulated well that the gap between her compensation and Mr. Schmidt's compensation probably is, well, I'm not going to use her words, but that gap does need to close. And I think I mentioned this at one time months ago, that once we get to this point, we're going to have this conversation of closing that gap, because they're pretty comparable responsibilities.
Well, you know, we did, the teachers and the non-certified staff, it's pretty much a 2% raise, is what we did. So, I mean, we can just say, you know, we'll do the 2% raise and kind of stick with that. That's what we did with everybody else. And, I mean, that's fine too. We don't have to be at 1.5 or 2.5. We can go 2% and 1 extra vacation day. Does that work?
Sure.
This is a first for me where I sat on the board and they argued about paying people more. Not argued, discussed.
So, that's the base salary, right? So that doesn't count like being the AD and that's all on top of your salary, correct?
For me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just base salary for principal.
No, when I'm talking about this percentage, I'm just talking about.
Yeah, you're just talking about,
Yes.
yes.
I just said we'll get this one taken care of and then move on to the next one. Would somebody like to make a motion on one of those options?
Just one last question, this is just
Yeah.
for Darren, anyway. I mean, what would you prefer? 2% raise and 1 additional vacation day, or 1.5% raise and 2 vacation days? I mean, this is your salary you're talking about, and your benefits. I mean, what would you prefer?
Well, yeah, I get it though, for me to say, well, I'll take this less, but, you know, I want you to apply it there. I shouldn't tell you what you do with it.
I mean, it's a nice gesture, I understand that.
So, it honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. But it is important to me that this gap close.
Okay.
That is important to me, and I know that's a different conversation.
Sure. Okay.
Make the motion 2% one day.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion anyway to offer the superintendent contract at a 2% raise and 1 additional vacation day.
List all of those.
What's that? Okay. Well, I'm gonna say this word for word.
You just, the 2% salary increase.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. Okay.
And you can
So I'll make a
mention-
motion anyway to increase Dr. Earl's contract terms anyway to a 2% salary increase to 133. No,
That number won't be
to
right.
a 2% salary increase. $1,000 a year cell phone allowance, $40 a day buyback for each year of unused sick days over 50. Right. Each year.
At the end of the year.
$45 a day buyback for unused sick days at retirement if over 50 in bank. Early retirement incentive, minimum of 10 years service, at least 55 years of age, and $7,000 a year for 5 years or until Social Security age.
When you do that, question, when you do that Social Security age, is that when you first start taking it, or that's full? we can take.
It's full, and it differs
Full
by,
age.
it'll be later for him because he's younger, so it'll be closer to 67. You're kind of around.
Right now it's 65, but it'll move
Mhm.
before I get.
Well, because Mrs. Schrader's, I believe, was 66.
Yeah,
So
66.
So it's when you get full retirement.
that's good, sir.
Is there a second?
Well, I didn't.
Hold on.
You know, not yet?
Thanks. One additional vacation,
Let's see.
right? Edward.
So you've got that? You got that?
Me?
We're
Yeah.
good.
I
assume it's
start over
option
from
B
the
that you
beginning.
discussed last time?
With the-
Exactly.
With the
No.
2%,
it's not.
with the 2%.
It's option B plus 1 vacation.
Plus one
I
vacation.
believe.
Okay.
Minus a 0.5%.
We'll sync up.
It'd be option C minus,
Right.
C minus.
So I think you discussed option B last month.
Yeah, we've changed it around a little
Changed
bit.
it.
Oh, it is, okay.
C was 2%.
This is C.D.
Be light.
Just don't make me make the motion again.
How do you do this?
Well, you got it
We
all
get a second,
practiced
yes.
up now,
Second.
get after it.
Jeez.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. So we got a first and second. We need to read that again, or everybody okay?
I think you should probably.
You repeat that.
I'm just kidding.
The president has to repeat the motion.
That's right, he does.
So it is option C with 1 day, not 2, correct?
Correct. Option C was 2%. Okay. Myself, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Trent?
Yeah.
Dr. Thorne?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
Motion carries. Oh, I hope this starts going a little smoother. Okay, number 11. Compensation. Discuss and take possible action on contract offer and terms for Mr. Kyle Schmidt. Okay, we have your salary. Where is it? You had something in here when you were asking.
Yeah, I forwarded to you on Saturday.
Oh, that was on the-
Early afternoon.
Okay. But there's nothing in here.
Um, Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
forwarded
yeah.
to you.
I remember seeing it, but I didn't remember.
You
seeing
want,
it.
Mike, you want a copy of me?
Yeah.
You got a copy? You got
It's
one?
kind of small.
Better let you look at it, 'cause I'm pretty.
That's what we discussed.
Correct.
So are you still gonna coach football?
Yep. But that's an extra duty, so that just goes through our extra duty sheet, basically, so paid like every other coach, just gets added in on top.
And what about the AD duties?
6,500.
Yeah, I put at the
Oh,
bottom
okay.
65 for that, doing 80.
You should have put a cot up here,
I know.
And we're currently paying Robin about 11,000, right?
10,004.
10,400.
or that's enough for the athletic director position?
Won't take one. I mean, I just know that, I hope you don't expect me to be at every single event. That's one thing I don't want to undertake. At some point, like, we'll share responsibilities like we have been, but if I need somebody to cover something because I want to go to my kids' events or something like that, I just hope you know that if we have to pay somebody $50 or something to cover a night, that would be okay. That's why I was kind of thinking I would take less, just because I don't want to be at every single thing, because I would be here every single night, so.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of did that.
You're already up here a lot, as it is. I mean.
Yeah.
Aren't you up here every single day?
Not quite. I'm here less than I was at my previous, so I'm good.
Do you go to many away?
You what?
Do you go sponsor many of the away activities right now?
We normally split them up pretty good, but yeah.
50-50?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever gone to 2 away events in a week. So normally 1 home, 1 away, something like that.
But you also go to youth events,
Yeah.
so
Load the
Yeah.
kids up.
he
go
makes a
watch.
presence at those as well, so
But
he is.
my kids will be involved eventually, so that's the whole thing. And that's more the coaching side. I feel like I need to go to that stuff just because they're gonna be a part of my program someday, so I don't really look at that as anything abnormal to me. But maybe I look at things abnormally.
So like the little kids wrestling program, do we have to provide sponsorship? Is that school?
We don't, but I
It's a
mean,
club.
it's
Still
club,
need to have
so.
somebody here.
Yeah,
that's-
I mean, we got plenty of adults and always Coach Boyer and Coach
Yeah.
Schumacher.
Well, does anybody want to make a recommendation or counter, or? Personally, I don't have any problem with the, AD part of it, that parent part of it. I know it takes a lot of time. And you're not getting any more time, you're just doing more of the time you have. Yes, so, I don't have a problem with that at all. As far as the raise, I kind of like sticking on that 2.5. Everybody else has kind of been doing that, I guess. But I also see that we're kind of sliding on the comparison here too. We're not in the upper half. And none of these state experience people on this array. I don't know what their experience levels are.
I'm sorry.
I guess that would be my recommendation, or 2 or 2.5.
I guess I don't have a problem with 3, not at all. I mean, you're not talking about a whole pipeline difference anyway. I think everybody in this room is pretty happy with your job performance, so.
Just don't tell him
Not very good to go.
You tell them that after we vote.
You're right, should have said that. So,
You were talking to Darren, right?
I'll remember that when we're talking to Heather. Okay. Right. But I think where we're at on the scale anyway of area principals, anyway, 3% is warranted. And if he's gonna willing to take less, a considerable amount less anyway for being the athletic director, I think it's fine. Again?
You got her down, buddy.
All right. Okay.
Find that hot.
So,
I'll second it for you.
okay, thanks. I'll make a motion to, where's that? Give me that. I'll make a motion that we approve the terms with 3% raise for Mr. Kyle Schmidt's contract for the 2021 year as read.
Did you say 2 or 3?
3%.
Thank you.
Second.
Yes.
Is the AD separate, or is that going with this?
You could probably lump it in there.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we.
To include.
To include the athletic director duties as part of Kyle Schmidt's contract for the 2021.
Yeah, that dollar amount.
For $6,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, so first and second, Krista?
Yes.
Yes.
Trent? Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries.
Did any other terms change in his contract other than?
I don't believe so, right?
It was just a 3%, just
Just the
and then
raise.
athletic director's duties for $6,500.
Okay.
Okay, we're adjourned, right?
Time's up. We gotta get our picture taken. Okay, number 12, discuss and take possible action on the contract offer and terms for Mrs. Heather's house. Okay, well, I'm gonna step into Wyatt's shoes here and say that, you know, I've heard nothing but good about all you guys. And, you know, I know you're deserving of what other people get and all that. I just, you know, you're doing a great job, and I want to keep you here and all that, you know. I think you're doing a great job, and Darren's happy with you. I think you guys are happy with Darren. I know this is a big jump. I know you need to get closer. I guess kind of what went through my mind is if we can do this in a 2-year deal, get you quite a bit closer this year, and next year fill in that last little gap. Would you be willing to do something like that? Or you want the whole works in 1 year?
I think that I have shown that I'm worth it.
So why did you come on board with the price you did to begin with? Why did we not have to pay up last year?
You know, I think that I didn't realize what Kyle had come on with last year. And I was excited to be part of the team last year. And I think I've come on, and we as an administrative team have really meshed, and we have done amazing things with the district as a team. And I feel that we do share the load equally, and I don't feel that we're being compensated equally.
I agree with you on that.
Are you finding you're doing more than what you thought you were going to do?
Absolutely.
When you came?
Yep,
I think,
absolutely.
from what I remember, anyway, when we talked about hiring on Heather and creating that position and getting back in her elementary position, I think she's done quite a bit more than what we initially discussed. What I remember, her responsibilities and what she's doing anyway in school, she's done more than what we expected.
You know, and I feel like I'm doing it in 4 days. You know, I'm taking a day and teaching technology classes for a full day, which is something I knew I would be doing. But so I'm doing all of my administrative duties in 4 days, which means it's just very intense. Yes. So, you know, I put together a list of things that I have brought to Plainview Elementary under my leadership. So these are things that are new to the elementary school. Future plans for next year, immediate future plans as an administrative team. And even just those numbers, we have 3 new students starting next week. And then I was told of 3 more that are coming next year now. So we're almost at 200 just in the elementary. So when you're looking at buildings, I have, you know, 60 more students in this building alone. So, I mean, I understand there are very different things going on at each building. But I just feel, you know, there are a lot of people that say, well, high school principals, they do X, Y, and Z, so they should be paid more. But, you know, I feel like elementary principals do A, B, and C, so they should be paid equally. So,
The high school principal job is traditionally more of a visible position, so people see that. They don't see what happens in an elementary building, and they would be equally as impressed with the amount of leadership that it takes, certainly. And again, traditionally, your elementary principals are not paid as much, and it's justified because the high school principal has to go to all these evening activities. Well, Mrs. Thompson has some of those too, certainly. Not as many athletic activities and such, but there's no reason that she can't share some of the responsibility in being, you know, school supervision at any particular activity. And so that would be a rational, something that she recognizes. She's saying it's a comparable position. Well, then you need to be part of the rotation of supervision as well, and she's willing to do that, and so that's a way to justify, you know, a bigger jump in closing that gap is, okay, we are a team, and we share responsibilities to the district as a team, and part of that is who gets to go to Ponca on a Monday night to a basketball game, or whatever the case may be. And so we meet every week, and we look at the schedule for the week. We look at it for 2 weeks, and we determine who's going here, who's got this responsibility, who's taking care of this, that, and the other thing. We haven't included Mrs. Thompson in that primarily this year, but we would next year and beyond.
But you were picking up some slack, I think, for Kyle on Fridays for football season, weren't you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was something that wasn't ever expected or asked of you when you took on the job.
No.
As it was, and of your list of accomplishments here, I don't think you have anything in here that you talk about how you're teaching.
Right.
Anything, technology courses or anything like that. I think that sometimes I guess forgotten anyway.
Well, and that,
Like you said,
I mean,
you're doing all these tasks and all these, you know, jobs anyway in 4 days.
Mhm.
So, yeah. I've got the opinion anyway that we probably got you on the cheap, and I'm speaking about this myself, and my only opinion anyway here, but we got you on the cheap, and you're still gonna be on the cheap according to the average here. So,
I'd like to add to that, you know, I lived and still continue to work where she came from, and I have never heard anything negative about where she was. In fact, the consensus is how stupid were we to let her go. That's the truth.
Mhm.
So that tells me what we got, so I'm cool with it.
You're cool with the 15.65% raise?
but it only adds
So what do you-
5% though for the total bottom line, for the increase anyway from what we were last year for the administrative team to the next year.
Was that figured in the AD too?
Well,
That
it's
would
a
get
different
little lower.
bucket,
Yeah,
isn't
but it
it?
would
That's a
be
different
dollar-
bucket.
Just total dollars
You're
for
right.
dollars, it would be get it below that 5%.
So,
I think all three of them are to be commended for the way they've got along and the things that you brought to the school. We obviously want to keep you. And Ms. Thompson has saved the district some money too by
Mhm.
updating,
yep.
you know, our accelerated reader, the math, some of the programs we did use in the past, so we got to look at that too. But I just like the way they all, I think they get on, you know, and work together very well.
Selfishly speaking, that's where I come from too. We've talked about it a few times. There's just things where we bounce ideas off each other, and it'd be very hard for me to do things. If I get stuck, I call her quite often, just because she gives me a completely different perspective of how to think about things. And
That goes both ways.
yeah,
Mhm.
we work well, and I know it'd be really tough if we had to do something different. So that's just me selfishly speaking. I lean on her quite a bit, so.
Mhm. Yep, same.
I agree with these guys wholeheartedly that you earn it, and you're worth it, and I want to keep you, but I think of the other side with the
Mhm.
district and
Yep.
spending the big pay raise all in 1 year, you know.
Yep.
I can hear, well, she came on for this price, now why all of a
Mhm.
sudden is it that much more? You know? And, so that's my concern is the other
Mhm.
side of it, so. And I guess that's why I asked you if you consider doing it over 2 years instead of just all at once. But it's a board decision.
Mhm. Absolutely.
That's a big percentage. I mean, where do we go from there? And then,
Well,
how do we keep up with that next year?
But from
You
there,
got
the-
15 this year.
They're even.
From there, the
I
gap
know,
is
but-
closed,
You're
though.
caught up, yeah.
From there, the gap is closed, and then it's.
Yeah, you're back to 2%.
And I think you can justify a 13, 14, or 15% raise by saying she will work more hours for the district next year because she will carry some of the supervision load of school activities.
But I think a big part is she's doing stuff outside too right now. I mean, she's doing stuff that's not a part of being a principal, and she goes above and beyond, and she never once said anything during the fall season when I said, hey, can you cover this for me? She just went and did it so I could do what I'm passionate about and coaching. So it was really nice to have that too.
Well,
I named on both of them.
We're throwing a lot on both of you. You know, you're doing a lot of extra stuff that most our principals don't do, coaching, AD, you know, all the extra stuff you're doing. I'm sure if you looked into a lot of these, there's probably not much of that goes on in your time. And that's, I mean, that's appreciated by us, because if you guys were doing it, I don't know, who would be? We'd be paying probably another person to come in from the outside and just do this. So what the motion would be?
I also want to say that I think we've all done a great job. I'm not for sure that 15% raise, I think you do above and beyond, you all worked good together. I guess 15%, if that keeps you here, that would be the best for our students. I still think that's high, but if that would keep you here, then I just hope that we can convince the teachers next year. We won't be here, but next year when we say.
Oh, yeah, you will.
So,
I wrote his name in.
Well, yeah, you say that.
Yeah,
And I agree, it's a
that's
big raise, but I bet if you went and talked to any elementary teacher.
oh,
they would all say give it
absolutely.
to her.
Yeah, I agree. No, nobody said, I mean.
I still think you need to go back to comparables anyway that she provided us. I mean, she's, getting her to 85,000 is still on the bottom end of the elementary principal.
Well, even our total.
Yeah,
The only thing we don't have is an experience comparison.
Right.
They're both first year.
I-
They are
I-
both first year principals.
We can have
Doing a great
an
job.
elementary principal here that's got 20 years' experience and not half the principal she is.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
Absolutely.
I'm going by the experience that we've had with her right now, and I think she's worth it.
Thank you.
Don't make the motion, make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the terms for Mrs. Heather Thompson's contract. Let me put the dollar amount there.
It'd be 15.6%.
Or 15.6% for 85,000 for the 2020-21 school year as read.
Second. I'll second it. Myself, yes. What?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Trent?
Yeah.
Thor? Krista?
Yes.
Anybody need to speak out loud from the camera?
I said yes.
You didn't hear the rattle.
Motion carries.
Can we take this picture quick?
Yep. We gotta roll.
Before you go. It is National School Board Appreciation Month, and I would love to get a picture of our school board in your polos.
All I can do is you better both sign your
Closet hanging up. Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to. I figured I'd dress up the other day.
You guys are.
Oh, all right. Sit back down.
Well, I'm just gonna move it on your way.
Give you that big raise, you want to appreciate taking a picture with us?
Stand back up.
You can be in our picture if you want.
One of us each on each line here at the end of the contract year.
I just want to make a comment that these two ladies together have served our district for 60 years, over 60 years. Some good meetings and some good quality.
Apparently they came in 1 year apart.
Yeah,
I forgot she was like your admit for that one.
yeah,
Yeah, we thank them all too for.
yeah, thanks to both of them.
I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation of Joe Wagner effective at the end of the 2019-2020 school year and approve her application for early retirement incentive as outlined in the negotiated agreement.
Second.
It's been first and second, and myself, yes. Krista?
Yes,
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Carries. 14, discuss and take possible action on accepting the early retirement request and resignation of Renee Wacker at the end of the contract year.
Once again, thank you, Renee, for all of her years of service, and I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation of Renee Wacker effective at the end of the 2019-20 school year and approve her application for early retirement incentive as outlined in the negotiated contract or agreement.
Second?
Is there first and second, Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Wyatt?
Yep.
Tim?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Motion carries. 15, discuss and take possible action on adopting the 2020-2021 school calendar.
So Mr. Schmidt and Mrs. Thompson probably speak more to any of the changes in here. It's pretty comparable, but it does double our number of 1 o'clock dismissals. And it doesn't surprise me at all. These two love professional development. They want time in front of the staff. They have a variety of initiatives, although they haven't saturated our teaching staff with them because they're smart enough to know that you can't do that. Hey, we're going to do this and this and this and this. But what they are choosing to do and bring to our school district is something that's not easy, that you can't one and done. It's something that takes time routinely to consult and to collaborate and to discuss and implement and tweak and change. And so this calendar has first and third Wednesday, 1 o'clock dismissals. Now, of course, they asked me, Dr. L, can we do this with the required number of hours? We can. Now, we'll have to watch carefully our snow days then in the future. But we can have another 2.5 hours per month for professional development. So it works, but we won't have 7 snow days without making up something in the future like we've had the past several. So those are some significant changes. Mr. Schmidt wants to do a little something different with the semester test schedule, essentially doing away with early dismissal for not having an excessive number of absences, because that's what our semester tests are right now. We've discussed this a variety of times, the value of semester testing and so on. And essentially, semester tests have been used just as an incentive for kids to come to school, to not skip school. We will keep data. We will keep attendance data. If this calendar is approved, we'll keep attendance data this year, see if we see a significant spike in kids saying, well, now that we all have to stay to the last day, I'm going to pull a Ferris wheel or 2 or 3 during the school year. But we'll maintain that, and he'll be able to report out to the board.
So you're saying all kids will take semester tests?
So what I'm leaning towards doing right now is kids taking college credit classes are going to have to take semester tests no matter what. And then the rest of them would either end the semester with like a chapter test wherever they're at, or they'll have the option to do a cumulative project to show what they've learned through the entire semester. So those would be the options I would give teachers for them to do. So they're still having to show some type of retention, things like that. But a true comprehensive semester final, no, kind of going away from that. So, and then parent-teachers conference, we changed that first one September. We had been doing, was it Wednesday night and then Friday morning, or Thursday night and then Friday morning?
It'd be a Thursday night, Friday morning.
That's what it was, right? And looking at doing a Wednesday and a Thursday night, and then teachers having that comp day on Friday, and doing 2 nights, just to see if we get a little better attendance on the second day, because it seems like when we had our Friday morning, very, very low attended. So if we're going to make teachers come in or stay late, whatever it might be, we want to see that little better attendance. So we're going to try 2 nights and see if that's more effective.
So I have 2 things. One of them is, I don't know, for something in my mind, I like not starting until after the 15th of August. It just seems like it keeps creeping up and creeping up. And it's probably been about this date for 10 years. I don't know. I haven't looked back. And I was thinking if there's any way we could move that back to kids starting on the 17th. And I know this year, the 15th probably falls about as late as it possibly can in the month. But it sounds like we're already taking away some days for students, so it's not like we've got any room to wiggle.
We actually we prepared 2 calendars and showed them to teachers and let them look at both of them and gave them an option, said, okay, vote and see which ones you like better. And one of them didn't have students starting until the 19th, and the other is this one with students starting on the 13th. And this is the one that teachers liked better because it gave a full Christmas break.
2 weeks.
That's where you were gonna take those days.
Yeah, so this is the one that teachers actually liked better. And it wasn't a significant difference. I mean, it was like 56 to, 56% liked this better. But with it being just 5 days before that 15th, but I see what you're saying, yeah. But I feel like that's typically the week that school's been starting for probably about the past.
That one pairs well with fall sports because the first fall practice then would be August 10th. So teachers would be back, so kids are going to be up here and in the building, a majority of them anyways, that are participating that entire week doing activities at night. So that's another reason we kind of looked at that too.
So how many snow days does this cut out?
That's a question for you.
Doesn't really cut out any snow days. It still gives us the same amount of student days, same amount of contract days, and essentially the same amount of student scheduled days. But some of those student scheduled days are 1 o'clock dismissals. More of the student days are 1 o'clock dismissals. So even though we have the same number of days, we do have a handful less of hours built into this calendar. So
that's where you take it if we have.
Yeah. So we could calculate how many total hours are in this calendar, and I would say there's probably close to 1,200. We're required to have 1080. So right now, we haven't had an abundance of snow days this year compared to a couple last years. So I mean, if we finish this year with, I think we're at 2. I mean, next year, if we creep into 3, 4, and 5,
I don't know if we've ever had a year where the students didn't have enough hours.
No.
It was just the teachers having to.
No, yeah. We've always had enough hours as required by Rule 10. It's just been a local decision on whether we're going to require 185 days for teachers or whether we recognize they work well beyond the hours that are required of them.
So my second question then was with the personal development days. And I don't know what you do in there and what the result of it is, but are you putting more stuff on the teachers and every one of those that you want them to be doing more of this and more of that? Is it taking more of their time to where they're getting swamped with so much stuff that they can't teach anymore?
No, that's actually, we were just talking about that. So the things that we're doing during that professional development time are things that we want them to have time there to complete with us helping them. So right now we're in the middle of working on an instructional model that works for all teachers from preschool all the way through 12th grade. So when I walk into any classroom, whether it's preschool or over in the high school, I should see X, Y, and Z happening. And that's what we're working on in our professional development. We want to start working on curriculum development. Actually, on the 18th, we're taking our English Language Arts department to ESU 8, and we're going to start working on, we've already created real documents, and we've chosen priority standards. So the state standards at every grade level, the teachers have looked at them and said, okay, by the end of 4th grade, my students are going to know X, Y, and Z. So now we want them to be able to say, in August, I'm teaching this. In September, I'm teaching this. In October, I'm teaching this. So we want them to make pacing guides. We want them to write their curriculum. So we're going to do lots of curriculum work, and that's going to happen during that professional development time. If it doesn't happen during that professional development time, then it will happen during days like the 18th when we take the whole English Language Arts department, or a day that we get subs for the math department and we work with them. So it won't be additional things that we throw on their plate. I take that back. It will kind of be additional things, but it will be things that we give them time to do. Does that make sense? And then on top of that, we want them to be able to work with So elementary-wise, I want my second grade teacher to be able to talk to the third grade teacher and find out what are you doing that's working in your classroom. And during some of that time, they can do that. Whereas right now, we just don't have time to have those conversations. So
Everybody's kind of on their own.
yeah, yeah. And so during some of that professional development, they can have time for those conversations.
So is there a flow between grades then? Okay, we want them doing this in first grade because in second grade,
Yes.
this is what in third
Yes.
grade. they just-
So we'll make sure that all of the standards are aligned horizontally and vertically. So, yeah, it's not something that we can just say one day, it's done. I mean, it's a process for each curriculum area. It's gonna could take an entire year to build it out and then another year to go through and test it out and get all the flaws and kinks out of it. Yeah, so it's a full process.
Are you changing the way, like right now, is it the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade move around? Teachers teach one or two things. Are you changing how that'll work then?
You know, I've had a lot of discussions with the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade teachers, and we've talked about, so what if teachers rotated? What if, you know, we've had some discussions. There haven't been any decisions made, but there have been conversations had. Do you have ideas?
So all teachers don't learn the same thing when you guys do professional, like, if you take the language arts teachers, what's everybody else doing?
So like on the 18th when we take the language arts teachers, is that what you're talking about? So when we're doing our professional development, we have different committees. So the language arts team might be working on language arts curriculum while the math team is over here working on math curriculum. Science team is over here working on science. So everybody's in their groups working on the same type of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Kyle and I are running like chickens with our heads cut off trying to get to everyone.
But we'll definitely have priority groups. So
Yes.
like right now, we really want to work on ELA and get that done this
Mhm.
year. Basically, we started this in July when we started talking about
Right.
it. And how we wanted it to look and how we were going to go about things and what needed to be done first, because we wanted to make sure that there were no gaps, basically. So when it came to testing, kids weren't seeing things that they hadn't seen previously in school or something like that. So really, we wanted to build everything from the ground up. We started with ELA because we're evaluated next year. We have our visitation coming from the state, and pretty much every school has reading or writing as their instructional goal. So that's where we wanted to start, and just making sure that we have that built and prepped and ready for when they come, and then we can start building around it with math and science and so on. Which science just kind of changed their testing style. Last year was the first year they did it, or 2 years ago? It's last year.
Last year was the first year, this year is another pilot year.
Yeah.
But another reason we started with ELA is there were just tons of reasons we started with ELA. But that was, when we met with teachers, that was an area that they recognized as an area that they would like some work on. So we listened when we met, and
we've put groups together, so we have different, we call them SAC, subject area content, where we pair teachers together, and so then they'll go and meet. So we have 2 elementary teachers that will meet with 2 high school teachers. They're all talking about the same content area.
Mhm.
But when we roll things out and start talking about curriculum as a whole, the whole elementary has to be involved because they teach everything, where high school wise, we're teaching our subject area. So that's how that'll look. And some of those days where we're working with one content area, we'll do some technology stuff too with the other group. Like when we had our last professional development day, they were doing technology, but we pulled out the leadership group and also the safety committee to talk about them and go through some meetings. So we have some different committees that we've set up that we want to try and start generating some things with our instructional model as well.
So it's every other Wednesday, so
Mhm.
it's always in the afternoon.
Mhm.
So whatever your afternoon classes are every other week, you get a day off of it.
No. We have a shortened schedule for our 1 o'clock dismiss. So instead of the periods over at the high school being
50 minutes, they're 35 or 30.
so they still have that same time. And then I've done the same thing in the elementary with special schedules and just condensed, instead of a special being 30 minutes, it goes down to about 22 minutes. And then teachers have just altered their schedules so they don't miss the whole afternoon, they just have condensed classes. That's a great question though.
Because otherwise you'd be looking at
Every
3
other
class
Wednesday.
periods in
Yeah.
high school not getting taught,
Yeah.
so.
Nope.
Sounds like you got a plan and a goal.
Yeah. We also changed up a little bit. So Kyle already talked about semester tests at the end, but if you look at the very end of each semester, it's a teacher workday. So we ended each one with a teacher workday to really give them that time to finish up grades and make sure that they had everything done that they needed to get done before they took off for the semester. Finish grades, get comments on the report cards, all that good stuff.
Because right now they're getting out the same time kids are, and they have about 2 hours at the end of the day, hour and a half to get that done before they take off, so.
So do you think this will be a pro schedule for our test scores? Since you're cutting some of those classes down to 2 times a month for 35 minutes, or I don't know in elementary what it would be, but high school 45.
I do think so, because we are giving teachers the professional development time to really work on their craft
Okay.
and work on the curriculum, so they can go in and make sure that they're teaching the right things to their students. So I think it will help, absolutely.
So is this extended on the calendar of the school year compared to last year, starting date to ending date?
I don't think it does, no.
It's pretty comparable.
Mm-hmm.
I think graduation's the 16th, so it can't be much different.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we accept the 2021 master school calendar as presented.
Second.
It's been first and second. Trent?
Yeah.
Yes, you said? Tim?
Yes.
Yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. Number 16, discuss and take possible action on approving the ESU contract for services for 2020, 2021.
You know, you love to throw tens of thousands of dollars at the ESU every month. So I did include a data log, an activity log, in your packet, just to give you some idea of the kind of what you really wouldn't know normally is how much we use the ESU for a variety of services. So that log is there, and then there's an actual copy of the contract. So I did also, one of our bigger expenses is the school nurse. Back in the day, every school just employed their own nurse. There just aren't enough anymore, and so we share a nurse, obviously, and we've got one of the best that's deployed out of ESU. So I shared with you information from Nurse Beth, was in your folder, just kind of her report, which is just, again, good data. It just shows you, who she sees and how often and for what. So they're an invaluable service that comes from our ESU as well. Of course, your sped numbers are going to be where the biggest piece of the pie of your ESU expenses. But so that's just our master services agreement. It can be, kind of change. They log certain aspects of the ESU that we use. They log those, but we have to say, we anticipate needing this many hours of service in this particular area. And then that doesn't automatically mean that we're going to pay for that, but it just gives us some type of budgetary number for that. So just our annual ESU services agreement.
Was there any options on the nurse? I mean, would we be
I always ask for
backed
more.
it off?
I always ask for more. If Nurse Beth isn't here, then it's Nurse Patsy.
Yeah.
To a great degree, and Nurse Tammy. And
Beth is awesome.
We're issued, there's a significant retirement going on at the ESU this summer, and I'm afraid they're gonna pull her into that, and that we may actually lose some of her time. So every year I always ask for a little more. Do we have her 2 days a week, every 2 days a week, and every year I ask for 3, and we end up really with about 2 every year, but I always ask for a little more.
2 days a week and you get 20 hours.
Well, I asked for 20, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Is I'm asking for
And
20.
you usually get 2 days. Yeah. So what about the distance learning?
Mhm.
Do we use that?
No.
Do we need to pay $3,500 for it?
Well, let's see, we have to maintain our equipment. We still maintain our equipment, just in case and that was also for E-rate, you see. So we have an E-rate consultant.
Which is?
E-rate is our electronic rate. It's our rebate that we get for all our electronic services, internet, telephone use. We get, what was it, Trent? 80%? 80-some% reimbursement. And that's to make sure that all public schools have the opportunity to provide electronic services, primarily internet service, worldwide access, digital telephone service, and so on. So that some kids in one school, we can't afford to have internet here. Well, that's what E-rate helps to close that gap in some of those districts.
So how is that reimbursed? Is that, they just give you a check, or
Kelly?
Yeah.
do they
Check.
pay the telephone
You
company?
just show it.
Well, the
just
last
shows
time
up
we
in
got
the
an
data.
E-rate, it came in the form of, when we were still using the old company, it came in the form of the bill went from $800 a month to $255 a month for like a year, which was fine with me too. It's basically the same thing, but we're getting, so I don't know. So it could either be done that way or it'll be done in a check.
So like on the hotspots that we just bought, do they pay us or do they pay,
I don't know. I don't know.
you paid the full amount for them, right? So they're gonna have to.
We'll just get some
pay us, so they're
notification
gonna-
and it'll show up in
Yep.
Kelly's accounting ledger. And E-rate came through.
And you have to sign up for that program to get that rebate.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the contract of services from ESU 7 for the 2020.
It's actually issue 8.
That's an 8.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, you're
It
right.
used to be in ESU 7. Then-
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract for the services from ESU 8 for the 2020-21 year.
Second. I'll second. Kristen?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. Number 17, discuss and take possible action on approving the NASB membership for 2020-2021.
Did we already approve this one, we paid the bills?
Check hasn't gone out.
I'll make a motion, we approve the membership dues for an NASB for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
First and second, Trent?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Wyatt?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. Reports, number 18, activity director's report. You might as well practice.
I should have read that before.
Before we sign your contract, you want to sit in the
I gotta reread us that. We have basketball here tomorrow night, that's O'Neill. Junior high's on the road at Randolph today. And then we have district wrestling coming in Friday, Saturday. We have basketball on the road Friday night. They go to Creighton. That's correct. And then district wrestling starts 3 o'clock, wrestling on Friday. We open the doors at 2, so we have to hold people out for until an hour before, and then we'll start letting them in.
Except school board members. School board
I
members
was
come in earlier.
Good
luck
Well, I
with
can't
that.
argue with you now.
Sorry.
So.
I have my own
I'll show you the
fobs.
back door.
You start roping off seats and.
I have my own fob, so good
Nobody
luck.
takes that.
Wyatt's up here at 1:45 for a meeting.
Speech
That's
is on
right.
Saturday, where's that at?
Speech is
Osmond.
Saturday, that's at Osmond, yeah.
Osmond, yeah.
I'll be taking admission.
Did I miss the Stonky? Did I miss the Sunday call?
The wrestlers get in.
I
They have to
didn't get
do
one.
weight checks.
Oh, I did.
No, I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
What's that?
Dr. Earl did it.
Yes, we missed it.
Did you not click other?
Not everybody got it. I got the email, I got it at work, but I didn't get it at
There's,
home.
yeah, sometimes there's been a glitch in that Power School system. I mean, sometimes mine goes straight to voicemail, which it did yesterday. My phone didn't ring, went straight to voicemail. So, I don't know.
Because we have 3 different phones on it. I don't know if it goes by family or by
I
phone
always tell you
number.
the same thing I always do.
Next year's football schedule comes out this week, doesn't it?
Comes out Wednesday, so we have to start calling and get officials all lined up for that. So we'll
Good.
figure out where we're going and how far we have to travel. So at least the other part of it, we know our district, but
Right.
We know 5 of our games,
Yeah.
4 of our games. 5 teams in our district or 6?
Farmington, Newcastle, Wakefield, Laurel, Concord, EV, and Lutheran High, so 6 teams. So we know 5 of our games. So.
Okay, 19 principal report.
Actually, you go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip the technology. We did pennies for patients, and it was kind of crazy. So if you look at the totals, last year, our total was just over $400, and the year before it was just over $600. But this year we brought in $2,378. So I did a competition between classes and just announced every day. And so that little bit of competition really drove it home, I guess, for kids. So they loved that. We talked already about the professional development that we did. So we brought Katie Morrow in, and she introduced 4 new tech tools for our teachers. She's going to be coming back within the next month, and the teachers are to have used one of the tech tools in their classroom, and then she can do a reflective conversation with them and find out, okay, so if it didn't go well, she can troubleshoot with them. If it did go well, then she can figure out how to take it to the next level or help them get started on one of the other tech tools. I've already, the first day after, there were 2 teachers tweeting about the tool that they used, so I was pretty excited about that. Bruce Arant, so I have an author coming into the elementary building. He's a Nebraska author that lives in Omaha, and he is coming in. He's going to do a presentation for 4th through 6th graders on writing, and then he's going to do a separate presentation for K3 on illustrating, and then we're doing a family night in the evening. The library is going to share some of the cost with us, but just one more way to get reading and books and drum up some interest for kids. So I thought that was kind of fun for the kids. So that'll be on March 10th. And he's going to have some of his books on hand, so I've already sent all of that with our February newsletter. And then March 2nd, so the week before, is Read Across America Day. So that whole week will be our Dr. Seuss theme. So all of the teachers have already signed up. All of their doors will be different Dr. Seuss themes. So mark your calendars that week, sometime the first week of March. Come into the building, see the doors. I'd love to have you guys just have a little bit of a presence in the building that week. We're going to have different days. Kids are going to be dressing up. I think I'm going to be dressed up as Dr. Seuss, reading to each class, and we're going to have a thing 1 and thing 2 with me, delivering some cookies. So
It's gonna be you 2 guys, right?
there we go, maybe my thing 1 and thing 2 right there.
We got the shirts.
So,
The press is supposed to be quiet. I don't think the press is supposed to be quiet.
so the teachers have a committee, and they're coming up with a whole bunch of ideas for things to do that week. So
Send us out a group email. Send us out a group email.
Okay.
Email that
Yeah.
Saturday or Monday or whatever, first thing Monday morning.
Perfect.
Reminder.
We're actually doing, the doors are a contest, so if you guys want to be my judges for the door decorating contest, that might be even better, because then I have some outside judges and no bias there. Well, maybe no bias.
Nah.
Do you need some cookies donated or anything? I'll be willing to donate some
Yeah.
Subway cookies.
Yeah.
I don't bake, but I can.
I would love that. I can
Just
put
let
that.
me,
Okay.
email me when you need them.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. You can go. Yeah.
Technology, we put Chromebooks in the hands of juniors this morning. So we're gonna get some data from that, comparisons between MacBooks and Chromebooks and what they like, what they dislike, things like that. STEM, I sent 4 teachers to Columbus today for the morning, going over STEM things that they can bring back to the school, ideas, programs, initiatives, how they implemented it, things like that. So I sent Mr. Juden, Mrs. Darnell, Mrs. Sturkle, and Mr. Peter down there, just because see what kind of grade levels it falls under. I've also talked to her about getting some things for the elementary and getting STEM started there. Mr. Juden has started with robotics. I know Mrs. Salzer was doing some cool stuff with the Spheros over in the gym the other day. So it's really just an initiative to kind of get kids thinking outside the box, getting creative, making things with their hands. So I'm excited to hear what they have coming back from that. I know a couple of you have been contacted about locker treats, so I figured we had talked about that. I've had everything from kids running by me in the hallway and saying, hey, stuff's missing, or I'm missing a candy bar, to kids actually coming in upset about it. When I found out who's done it, I've had anything from, well, yeah, they said I could have it, and then finding out that, yes, they did let them have it, and then all the way down to, no, they weren't supposed to have it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to eliminate me having to chase this around. Locker treats will be brought into the office every morning of a contest. Athletes come in, they pick up their treat, it's handed to them, so from that point on, they have no excuse for anything going missing at that point in time. So that's kind of what we're going to do with that. I also brought kind of a preliminary schedule, if any of you are looking at it, for what next year looks like. Mr. Peter and I have been working on it to try and build in some interventions for students, meaning if a student is really struggling in science, we have some times built in throughout the day where they can go meet with a science teacher and get 20 minutes of extra work, whatever it might be. We build in a homeroom period, whether we starting to create that kind of family atmosphere where they do some get to know each other activities or some sharing activities, whatever it might be. We'll also use that time to do class meetings if we do things, so we're not missing out on instructional time, or if FFA has a meeting or FCCLA, whatever it is there. So we've kind of put this together if you guys are interested in looking at it. It does go from an 8-period day to a 7-period day. But really, I didn't see that as an issue because pretty much 85% of our kids have a study hall, so they're already in a 7-period day, if you look at it that way. So really, we have a 7-period day built up with a 20-minute study hall attached to their lunch. So they'll go to study hall for 20 minutes and then go to lunch for 30 and then start their next class.
So some kids will go to study hall, but some will go meet with teachers?
Yep.
At that same
So
time.
where our study hall, we have set up as, we can use MAP scores if we want to. If kids aren't meeting the RIT score, we can take that group of kids and say, first quarter, you're going to meet with the English department. And so you're going to be doing recovery stuff and doing some different, we've talked about IXL or anything like that, where they can try and correct those standards and get caught up, whatever it might be. Khan Academy, we've talked about using as well, just to try and close some of those gaps and give them the extra support they need. So that's kind of it from our end.
Is that something you're proposing for next year or this?
Yep, next year. So that's what we're looking at. And the day gets, it would be an 8 o'clock to 3:27 day. So 3:30 basically. So did I miss anything on that?
Very good, sounds good. Well, by the way, I just thought of one other thing for your contracts is you're gonna start driving school buses too.
I don't know if you want me driving the school bus.
There's a class you can take.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, I have Tony Hoffman on there, kind of worked with the Northeast Area Regional Health Department to bring Tony Hoffman, who's a former Olympian BMX racer. Poor decisions kind of derailed his life and his career quite a bit. Anyway, outstanding speaker. The students from Osmond St. Mary's Junior High came and joined us because they try to pool different schools together for this, but real good stuff. We try every year to bring a presentation to our kids with 6 through 12, invited to that. Neat guy, great story, inspirational, and you could just tell as he was talking, we knew who in our audience he was maybe more resonating with a little more. I mean, he was just straight up, this is who I was and these are decisions I made. And I was able to get myself to this other point in my life, you know. So that was good stuff. Our Education Foundation is going to start providing scholarship for students. When I came here, they had about $11.57 in the bank. Just not very active. We had a foundation, just wasn't very active. We've been able to increase the size of our board. Has some good stuff going on. Primary thing is that Forever Pirates Memorial Golf Scramble, and so we've had that 2 years in a row, and have earned about $5,000, netted about $5,000 profit each year, and so like we need to start spending some of this money. Education Foundations generally provide scholarships for students, grants for teachers. That's their primary responsibility. Krista's on the board, and so this year we're going to provide 2 $500 scholarships for seniors, put together an application process that went to Mr. Peters. So it'll be one of the variety of local scholarships that our kids can apply for. So we're starting to spend some of that money that the foundation has earned through their efforts. And so
criteria you're looking for on that?
It's pretty general compared to some other local scholarships, but it's paid out in their second semester. So it's just anybody going to a 2 or 4 year school. So we didn't get too specific, and we don't have a high threshold. You have to be NHS with this GPA. Anybody that wants to go on for post-secondary education has an opportunity to earn this scholarship. So they write a little essay, and part of it is also about what's Plainview and Plainview Public Schools done for you, and what's one thing that you would contribute back to your community and school. And so trying to appeal to, maybe those kids want to go out and get some skills in education, maybe bring that back to our community.
Has that list of local scholarships been sent out?
Well, that made me think of something. Mr. Peter, I don't know if he sent out the local one. I know he's been sending out emails every other day to kids, pushing scholarships out and everything, so I'll check with him when I get back over there.
Okay.
But I also know he started with our National Honor Society kids. He has 2 kids per week, and they go up to the manor and do some things up there and just kind of hang out and doing some student service things. So I forgot to add that in.
Way to go.
He started that. Dropping the ball all over the place.
I'll keep you informed of the number of snow days. We've had 2 snow days this year so far, which is well below what we've had in the past, but at any given time we could rack up 5 in a row, you never know. And for snow days, we call it snow day, quote unquote. That could also be flood, ice, cold, whatever, yes, road conditions. Winter Workshop, this was our 3rd year that we've attended the Winter Workshop. That's sponsored by the ESU and Norfolk Public Schools. That's that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the Winter Workshop. It is really a great PD day where about 1,000 teachers and administrators from Northeast Nebraska schools meet in Norfolk Public Schools, and ESU does a tremendous job of putting that on. So that's really good stuff. We're currently searching for 3 teachers, one for media specialist, one for science, and then one for art. I just had another app come in for science as we were sitting here, so that's good. So we have a first interview for science tomorrow.
So you have 2 already?
We have 3. We have 2 interviews set up. We have a total of 3 apps for science. That's encouraging.
Yes.
This is upper level science. We have how many apps for art? I think we have 3 for art. We'll be calling 3 or 4. We'll be calling for interviews for that. Those 2 will work on media and art together, because that's a shared position. For media specialists, we just have the one. It's an internal candidate. And so we think we can probably, you know, we've been advertising for all of these for a couple of weeks now for free online. And that reaches, we feel, the pool of candidates that are out there. You know, feel good to have a number of candidates. So we're going to start working on that recruiting, because it's not just hiring, so it's recruiting. I mean, and so that's in the works.
One quick question
Yes.
on that. Are you tying any coaching duties to any of those positions?
We always say, unless we know, we've got to have this coaching with this assignment. So we say coaching and sponsorships are available, but not required with this. And then when somebody comes and they visit with us, then we can, of course, because we just want them to apply. We just want people to apply. So if we say, this has got had this for upper level science, well, shoot, we just really narrowed maybe the scope of who we might get. So we just want them to apply. And then when we see the resume, we see if they maybe can fit something else for us. And then when we get them here, we move the conversation to where we need it to be. But right now we don't know of, well, we don't have it because the 3 teachers we're living except for head 1 act. Now Mrs. Darnell has been our assistant 1 act, and so she's fully aware that she wants to kind of be the person in charge of that. And her and Renee have shared that, you know, really. So Nicole can, if she wants to, and we hope she does, she can manage that. So we don't have anything coaching, this is tied with this position, but we always say sponsorships and coaching are available. So also, you know, our wrestling team just defended their state title. So folks, your wrestling team right now is going to be considered to be one of the best all time in Class D. I mean, Coach Boyer's got this team at the pinnacle of wrestling in the state. Something to be proud of, certainly, and that season is coming quickly to a close. None too fast for some hungry wrestlers, but so that's exciting. We're hosting the district wrestling tournament here for the first time since 1982. Our gym is, and it's unanimously considered to be the most competitive and toughest district in all the Class D. There are a total of 4. We're hosting one of them. So this place is going to have a whole lot of activity. Mr. Reed has done an amazing job of putting this together, and he's been working on it for months with a lot of help, certainly. But he is very nervous because wrestling's not his thing. But he's got a whole lot of help lined up to make sure that the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are coming to our community and our school on Friday, Saturday have an excellent experience.
So do you go outside the restaurants and stuff to make sure they know what's
we
going
have,
on?
we have to apply to the NSAA, and we have to tell them a little bit about what amenities do we have. Now, they know in Class D size communities, you're not a lot of amenities, and we're lucky that Norfolk's only 30 minutes away. Because we've got Cambridge coming, Brady coming, they're 250 miles away. So there are about 6 teams, 7 or 8 teams that will have to find accommodations.
But I'm just saying, are they notified that this is all going to be going on?
No, I don't call Scott and say, hey, by the way, I mean, we kind of expect that, you know, in a small town, they're, you know, so yes, I hope he doesn't run out of chicken. But I don't anticipate that a lot of people are going to be staying at the hillside.
Anyway.
Not until Saturday, then they'll.
Yeah. So we'll be using the cafeteria over here because we'll do more than just a concession stand. I mean, there's going to be activity back and forth across the street. A lot of people see this opportunity to fundraise a little bit, because you got hundreds of people here, and they'll spend some money on this, that, and the other thing.
So,
quite an event.
Since you're gonna have it on both sides of the street, are you gonna leave the barricades up?
Nope. People we think can navigate across the street safely. We don't. I know it's just like if they were to walk across any street.
Yeah.
But the place there will be parking from God knows where to where. We've got permission from the Methodist Church, barring anything that happens unexpectedly. Methodist Church allows us to use their parking lot for school vehicles that come, because we've got 19 schools coming here, most of which will drive 2 vans. There'll only be about 5 buses probably, but so we're trying to make those kinds of accommodations for folks. But we thought of that, but no, we expect that people can, you know, navigate a street. This isn't a, you know, they're adults. They can get
I was more worried about the, you know, like all the kids.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, that's just,
you know, the parents, I hope, are minding their kids to a certain degree.
you would hope.
Did you talk about maybe parking at, say, our church, St. Paul's, and shuttling people? 'Cause
Well,
what are you gonna do with all those cars?
Their folks are just gonna have
Have
to
to
walk.
be on their
Yeah.
own, huh?
So the gym will be as full as it can possibly be. At one point in time, we thought, gosh, Chad Commit's always looking for something fun to do, to make a buck. Couldn't the FFA, you know, shuttle, you know, could we make a parking lot out of this big empty lot out here if it was frozen or if it was dry enough, and could we cut it and park people there and shuttle people? No, that's just another thing to try to make. Wrestling folks generally know. They're pretty hardy. I mean, but they'll be parking blocks away. They'll be on the other side of Highway 20.
Park where we do for football.
We could rent out our
Let them
spots.
come across the football field.
Something tells me your spots don't
They'll
count.
park wherever they
True.
think this is the closest I'm gonna get.
I just seen your contract, I don't think that's in.
I don't
Just
think
run
it
one
is.
gym or you run that gym?
Just one gym, but the target gym is gonna be our weigh-in area, wrestling warm-up area. There'll be wrestlers up in the bleachers. That'll be a disaster. That'll be a mess. I got more compliments though after our invite, which we host every year at the end of January. It was February 1st this year. Got a variety of compliments from folks about how clean we kept the building. They're usually used to the restrooms being absolutely disgusting by the end of a wrestling meet. I had somebody specifically mention your restrooms, it's the end of the day, hundreds of people have been in and out of here, your restrooms smell clean. But we also, you know, we've got custodian staff that knows we need all hands on deck. And of course, we know that Gail and his crew do a fantastic job. So both gyms will be used, 4 locker rooms, obviously. We'll shut off the 77 area. We'll use the media center for seating meeting, and for coaches, the stage will be used for hospitality. That'll have all kinds of activity on it. But folks like Christy Boyer, and she's got a heck of a team working to manage all that. So it will be quite an event here. And then there's our enrollment summary, which is going to go up by 3 on Thursday. Meeting out of district, vacation sick balance. That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Yeah, I skipped president's report, I guess, I didn't realize that. I just,
That was an accident, right?
Well, Darren reminded me, all I wanted to do was congratulate Kyle and Dean on your awards as coaches. You know, it's long overdue. It just came out in the paper this week, I think, last week. But great job. I mean, we had a lot of exciting stuff going on in our school, both on the court, field, mat, and in the classroom. And just super happy with the way our school is going right now. And I also want to congratulate the wrestling team and Dean Ware on their win again this weekend. So that's, yeah, I mean, things are going awesome. So, good job. Anything else? Adjourned.
We come out of this quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.